Hey guys, Kimmy Vapes here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Dead Rabbit RTA, a project by Heathen and HellVape. Let's have a vape, go down below, and see what comes with the RTA. Okay, and here we have the Dead Rabbit RTA, designed by Heathen and manufactured by HellVape. This product was sent to me for the purpose of this review by HellVape themselves. Let's go ahead and open up the box and see what comes with the RTA. So when you open the box, you're going to have a HellVape Dead Rabbit RTA manual that comes in several different languages. You're also going to have a Dead Rabbit sticker. Inside your box, you're going to have an accessories box right here. Inside the accessories box, you're going to have a bubble glass, which increases the capacity from 2 milliliters to 4.5 milliliters. You're going to have a bag with both an Allen wrench and a flathead screwdriver. And you'll also receive a bag which has a spare 810 drip tip, a 510 drip tip adapter, spare O-rings, and spare grub screws. And here is the Dead Rabbit RTA. This is a 25mm RTA. Looking at the bottom, you're going to see it says designed by Heathen and HellVape along with your serial number. It does have a gold-plated positive 510 pin, which is insulated and protrudes nicely, so it is safe for hybrid mechanical devices. Looking at the outside of the RTA, you can see here we do have an acrylic 810 drip tip, which has an O-ring inside so that it can fit all of your goon style 810 drip tips. Both the top and the bottom is knurled. The color I have here is the Rainbow Edition. With each color RTA that you receive, you will get a coordinating matching 810 drip tip. It is dual top airflow, so whatever you do when you adjust the airflow ring, it will do to the other side as well. And it is on a stopper. So on one side of the barrel on the inside, you'll see it says Dead Rabbit. On the other side, you have the Dead Rabbit logo. To fill the RTA, you'll simply unscrew the top. Also, it has a very short thread throw on it, so only about 2.5 turns to completely remove that top cap. There you can see an O-ring at the top for sealing. And then down here, it has an O-ring on the base as well, and you have two very nice large kidney shaped holes. To remove the base from the RTA, you'll just grab it by the top and the bottom and go ahead and turn counterclockwise. And what you'll notice is there always feels like there's some resistance to that when you're unscrewing the base, and once I remove it, you'll see why. So unscrewing the base, you'll see that you do have an O-ring there for your glass. And also looking at the top here first, you can see the airflow channels at the top of the domed inner housing. And those slots there are cut at an angle to angle your airflow downwards towards the coils. So also something you will notice here on this top section is it is all one piece. So you're unable to remove this center barrel from the top portion of the RTA. And here you can see the holes cut in, which is where your wicking is exposed to the e-liquid. And then below, right below those wicking channels, you will see a notch. And there's a notch on each side there. And that is so as that the top portion of the center barrel can lock down into place on the base. So taking a closer look at the base, as you can see, it has that Dead Rabbit style post. Now each block is a one solid block, unlike the original Dead Rabbit RTA, which had 4 individual posts. This has 2 posts, your gold being positive and your stainless steel being the negative. And just like with the Dead Rabbit RTA, you can also cut your leads from the bottom after installing. So you'll drop your coils in from the top. And then if you have any excess lead, you can clip them right there, accessing from the bottom. And you can also see there the screws that come installed are flathead screws. So once you install your coils here, you'll see your wicking channels right there. You'll tuck your wicks into those little channels. And as I said before, this deck is free spinning. So what I mean by that is you can actually turn this deck, though it does have quite a bit of resistance to it when you're spinning it, and that is because there is an O-ring down there at the connection. So you're always going to feel some resistance when you're spinning it, but it does free spin. And if I turn it around to the bottom, you can see as I'm spinning it, the 510 pin is spinning as well. So hopefully this can show up on camera for you, but I showed you the cutouts on the top center portion of the barrel on the RTA, and those match up right there with the deck on the RTA. And what that does is that makes sure that your airflow is always aligned correctly with your coils. Now there is one caveat to that, or con, and that is that means you're not able to really screw down the top portion of your RTA onto the base while it is sitting on a mod. And the reason for that is because as this deck spins, your pin also needs to spin, and when it's tightened down onto a mod, your pin isn't really able to freely spin, and it can make it very difficult for you to install the top section. So what I recommend is building the RTA. If you're going to build it, you can easily build it on a mod or a RTA RDA atomizer stand, and then just remove the base from the stand or the mod when you assemble the top section. So let's go ahead and throw a build in it real quick. So for this RTA, the build I'm going to be throwing in is a very simple 3mm build, and I'm going to be using the Coilology staple stainless steel 316 coils, and as a dual pair they should ohm out to about 0.15 since they are a 0.29 individually. Something else that I would like to spotlight, this is a tool that I've been using lately, and it is called the Coily. This comes from a maker in the UK. Right there is all of their information and their website, where if interested you can pick up one of these Coily tools as well. I want to give a really big shout out and extra special thank you to my dear subscriber and a wonderful community member, Ashley Brown, who sent this to me as a gift and a thank you for everything I do. And I just want to say thank you to her for sharing this wonderful tool with me. How the Coily tool works here is you're just going to go ahead and there's these notches on the side. These each coincide with a millimeter measurement. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your RTA, RDA, or whatever it is that you're building on, and you're going to measure up the width of those posts. So looking at my posts and how deep they are so as I can determine my lead length, I would say this one is going to be about 5mm. So then what I would do is go ahead and drop my coil leads into the coordinating holes beside the 5mm measurement, flip it over, and now I'm ready to snip my leads. And then I can go ahead, remove my coil, and do the same thing. So now I have two coils with perfectly measured 5mm leads, and now I'm ready to place my coils. So if you haven't already, I'm going to go ahead and include a link for you right there in the upper corner. If you haven't already, I strongly advise that if you're watching this review, also be sure to check out Heathen's channel and check out his video on where he explains the Dead Rabbit RTA, how he vapes it, how he places his coils, and where he feels it performs best. Now, I have watched Heathen's videos as well as before watching his videos. When I first got the RTA, I did some experimenting of my own, and I will say that I agree with his videos in coil placement. So for coil placement, I find that placing my coils raised up in the deck gives it the best flavor. However, there is such a thing as raising them too high. If they're too high, of course, one, you can short out on the actual inner chamber of the RTA, but also even if they're not so high that they're touching the walls, you can get a slight whistle when you open up the airflow and vape on it. So trying many different coil positions, I found that positioning as low as I possibly could to the post didn't really produce the best flavor. So raising them up was definitely how I like them. So what I do is I raise them up about 2.5 millimeters above the deck. And by keeping them raised, that allows for the flavor to be really good on this RTA. It allows that airflow to actually make contact with your coils and ramping up that flavor. So go ahead and tighten this side down. And then I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So once I tighten my coils down, I'm going to go ahead and position them. For me, I like the coils positioned more inward. So I'm going to bring both those coils in as evenly as possible, and I'm going to bring them just past the outer edge of those posts. I want them to come in, and I want to be able, looking straight down, I want to be able to see the outside edge of my post. I don't want the outside edge of my coil to meet up with that post or go past that post. And that for me is where I have found the best performance and flavor. Okay, so I have them positioned where I want them. As you can see, they are raised above that build post about 2.5 millimeters. I might drop these down 0.5 millimeter, but this is definitely in the range where I find I get the best flavor without causing any turbulence from the airflow or any type of whistling. Go ahead and turn on the mod, and on the nose it's a 0.14, so that's right about where I expected them to come out to. So it's going to end up being, once I pulse the coils, it's going to probably end up being a 0.15, 0.16 build. So let's go ahead and give them a pulse. And I'm pulsing these coils at a very, very low wattage, just 15 watts, just to lightly pulse them. Make sure there's no hot spots. If there are, make sure that they're glowing evenly and work out any hot spots. So let's go ahead and bring it up. I'm going to bring it up to 20 watts. And we're going to lightly pulse those. Look at those beautiful colors on those stainless steel coils. I really enjoy Coilology coils. Now they are mass manufactured Chinese coils, but I gotta say, for the price point and for them coming out of China, I've never had any problems with these coils. I find they perform really well, and the coloring on them is just beautiful if you're into that sort of thing. Alright, so right away they're pulsing really nice and evenly. No hot spots. I am literally not going to have to do any work to these coils. So that is perfect. So let's go ahead and wick it up, and then we'll assemble the RTA. So the cotton that I'm going to be using to wick the RTA today is just some organic Muji cotton sheets here. Nothing special. And I'm going to be using quite a thick strip here because I want to wick these coils nice and tightly. Alright, so now I'm ready to trim the ends of my wicks. Now, if you're an RTA user, then you know that wicking can make or break an RTA. Wicking is really important in an RTA because of the fact that it is completely concealed. You're not able to physically add more e-liquid to the coils. You're really relying on your wicking. So for me, what I found with this RTA is that while you can use too much wicking and choke it off and get dry hits, it is quite forgiving if you are using less wicking. Now, if you use less wicking, what you will find is some gurgling and some popping, but because it's top airflow, you're not going to have leaking like you would on a bottom airflow RTA that was wicked too loosely. So when you're doing this, wick your coils nice and tight, but then when you clip your cotton, I don't like to bring it all the way down to the base. What I actually like to do is clip it just so as that my cotton is ever so lightly tucked into that channel. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll cut the ends here on both sides. I'll just bend them down and try to line them up with the edge of that deck. It looks like I'm needing some sharper scissors here. Okay, so once I've done that, I've clipped the length off of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thin out the end of my cotton. Because remember, like I said, with wicking and RTA, if you use too much wicking, you can actually choke it off. And e-liquid isn't going to be able to freely flow through that cotton up to your coils. So I really put a lot of time into thinning out the end of the cotton there. And that's going to be the part of the cotton that gets tucked down into those channels. So I'm going to thin it out really nice. Make sure all the fibers are running in the same direction. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to thin out the ends really nicely. Now you can end up over thinning, and like I said, that's what that will cause if you over thin it to where e-liquid is literally just pushing up through that juice flow channel. You're gonna get gurgling. So once I've done that, we'll go ahead and clip off all of that stuff that I just thinned out. And now I'm ready to tuck my wicks. So I'm just going to lightly grab my wicks and tuck them down into that channel. And they very loosely go in there. Everything at the channel down there at the base is very nice and light and fluffy and loosely placed, because I don't want to choke off the e-liquid. I don't want it to be so compacted in there that the e-liquid gets slowed down and can't freely flow up to them coils, because this is the Dead Rabbit build deck. So with the Dead Rabbit build deck, the coils are placed quite high and you have a lot of travel for the e-liquid to go up those wicks. So there we go. That's how I have it wicked. Just gently placed into those channels on both sides. And now we're ready to add some juice to the coils to prime it up. And the e-liquid that I'll be using in the RTA today is the Buttercream Blueberry Cake by Glass Basics series. And now this is a really sweet e-liquid, but if you're somebody that likes blueberry bakery vapes or blueberry muffins, I will say this is spot on. When I vape this, it tastes just like a blueberry muffin and it's so delicious. So we're just going to apply some e-liquid and then apply a little bit of heat. And what that's going to do is that's going to get that ciliary action going, so is that e-liquid can travel up the wicks and into the coils. So remember how I said when I was taking this apart and showing the base that base spins? So here's where we have to remove the base from the mod to actually get the RTA top portion onto the base. So you can stick the base down on it. What you're going to do is you're going to line up those notches. So we're going to line up the notches. And you might have to wiggle it a little bit to feel it pop down. So once you've got it lined up and you can feel it pop down, there we go. We felt it pop in. So now we know it's lined up, but you can see the problem I'm having. I can't turn it any longer. And it's not screwed in. It's in the notches, but I can't turn it. And that's because the 510 pin is stopping that base from being able to travel. So actually what I have to do is I have to unscrew my base. And I can do this with the top cap put on. And now I'm still locked into place. Now I can screw that cap. Finish screwing that base into the top portion. So now I'm completely screwed in and I can fill it. So I'm going to go ahead and place it back on the mod. Screw that down. And as you can see, I'm at a 0.14, so about the same there as I was. Open it up. And now we can fill the tank. Now I am using the 2 ml glass, which is the straight glass. The straight glass is included for TPD compliance. And there we go. We're all filled up and ready to go up top. So that is the Dead Rabbit RTA by Heathen and HellVape. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my final thoughts and opinions. Okay, and that was an up and close look at the Dead Rabbit RTA by Heathen and HellVape. So what are my thoughts? Well, let's get into the pros first. First thing I gotta say is the fit and finish on this RTA is wonderful. The packaging that HellVape included is really great. I've received several products and done several reviews for HellVape, and I gotta say they are on top of the game when it comes to their packaging and the way that they present their products. I always think they do a really good job. They always include a lot of accessories, which is a big pro for me. Next with the accessories, of course, is going to be that they include extra sets of grub screws, O-rings, and that extra bubble glass, which increases your capacity from 2 milliliters to 4.5 milliliters. I think the 4.5 milliliter bubble glass is really important on this RTA because it is a dual coil RTA and it has a lot of airflow. So you're gonna go through a lot of e-liquid in this RTA. So having that extra bump up in capacity is a big pro. Now let's talk about the actual RTA itself. So another pro I have, of course, what I liked about the original Dead Rabbit RTA was that knurling and how it makes it so easy for users to remove parts and pieces from the device. So the atomizer has knurling on both the top cap, which is the portion of the cap that you would remove to fill the RTA, and knurling on the bottom, which you would use to remove the base of the RTA to install your build or whatever there. So the knurling makes it really easy for people that may have weaker hands, or just in general, it makes it really easy for you to get a good grip on the base and the top cap to be able to spin it and remove it. So I think that's a really big pro that Heathen kept with that aesthetic and put knurling on both the top and the bottom. Speaking of aesthetic, the Dead Rabbit logo on the inner side of the barrel and the Dead Rabbit RTA written on the other side, I think goes very well with the whole Dead Rabbit line, keeping true to Heathen and his design and what he has done. There is no mistaking that this RTA is a part of the Dead Rabbit series. All really great products. Heathen did a wonderful job with his original RTA, his 22 millimeter RTA that he did, and now we have an RTA with that same drop in style post system that he produced with the original Dead Rabbit RTA. So if you're somebody that likes the drop in style posts, those rabbit ear posts, you're gonna really like building on this RTA. Next pro for this RTA is going to be that it locks into place so that your airflow is positioned right there over top of your coils the way they need to be, and the pro being that it is top airflow, meaning that you're never going to have leaking issues with this RTA. Again, I have built several builds on this RTA. I have used it with different wicking techniques as well as different builds, and I have not been able to make this thing flood so bad that it leaks. That's sitting on its side, turning it upside down. Speaking of turning it upside down, I actually had to go in and adjust my build, and I had a tank full of juice. I was thinking to myself, oh crap, this is going to be a mess. But I actually found that I could tip it upside down and leave that portion tipped upside down while I went ahead and maintenance my coils, and it didn't leak. So that's really awesome that the way that that chamber and housing is built in there, you can really do a lot of things with this RTA and not worry about it leaking. Now, some of the designs in that is gonna bring on some cons for some people. So the locking deck, that's gonna be where there is a con built in as well as a pro. The pro being that you're locking in that airflow to be directly angled down at your coils. Now the con to that comes that when you're building this, you cannot unscrew the base or screw the top portion section onto the base while it is screwed down on a mod. You're actually going to have to remove the whole unit from the mod, unscrew the base from it, and then same thing when putting it on. You're not going to be able to screw the top portion onto the base with the base already screwed down on a mod. You'll have to take the base off, screw it all together, and put it onto your mod. So that is something important to mention, that might be seen as a con for some people, or at the very least it is an extra step that you have to do. Another thing that I'd like to point out is there is a rubber gasket in there that holds that base, making it quite stiff. Now for me, I don't have any problems with agility in my hands, but I can see that being quite difficult for some people to maneuver, and because it is so stiff, if they have issues in their hand, it might be a little finicky to work with. So let's summarize the pros. Top airflow, easy build deck, 4.5 ml of e-liquid, lots of accessories, fit and finish, and it comes in a wide variety of colors. All of these are of mainly stainless steel construction, which means that the color variations are based on electroplating. So there are some colors that just aren't available in electroplating, but one of the colors that I was really excited to see that I also saw with the Drop Dead RTA was their purple. Their purple is really beautiful. So if you're somebody that likes a lot of color options, you definitely get them with the Dead Rabbit RTA. I think there's 11 or 12 color options. And of course, if you buy multiples, you can mix and match them. So if you're somebody that likes black and gold, you can buy both the black and the gold RTA and mix and match them, and vice versa with all of the other colors out there. So a lot of really great pros about this. Now let's talk about the airflow and the flavor. So as I mentioned in my down low portion, if you haven't already, please make sure to go to Heathen's channel and check out his videos on his description of the Dead Rabbit RTA and what builds that he puts in them and how he vapes on them, because I think that is really important to pay attention to a designer's aspect and where their thoughts were when they were designing a atomizer or a device. So I definitely agree with Billy that you do need to put your coils up a little higher. You don't want to drop them too low. I find that kind of 2 mm space between the coils and the posts is a really good sweet spot for your coils, as well as I also find that leaning them in. So that's going to be either pro or con, so I'm going to say this is subjective. If you're somebody that likes something that no matter what kind of build you put in, like if you just want to throw a build in and it's going to get a really great vape, this might not be the RTA for you. And the reason why I say that is that I found personally when I drop my coils all the way down up against the you know, without touching the post, but as far down to those posts, I lose a lot of flavor on this RTA. So it's one of those things where you do have to pay attention to your build and how you build it to get the best out of it. If you've already bought this RTA and you're finding that you're not getting the best flavor, go in and adjust your coils. Play with your builds. Now, with the wicking, some might say that the wicking is the most crucial part of an RTA, and I would agree with that. But I will say I feel like the wicking on this RTA is quite forgiving, and that is because it is top airflow. So you can get quite sloppy with your wicking, and you're not going to have to worry about leaking with other RTAs that are bottom airflow. If you're somebody that uses RTAs quite a bit and you have bottom airflow, then you know that when you're wicking a bottom airflow RTA, it can make it or break it because you may have a lot of leaking, or you might get a lot of dry hits because you have to wick it so much to keep it from leaking. So with this one, I find that I don't have to overly think about my wicking. I do thin out the end so as it's nice and fluffy and it wicks easily, but I can definitely be less generous with the cotton in this one, and it does not leak. So I really like that about this RTA, that when it comes to wicking, while there is some skill involved and while there is some things that you do have to think about, you definitely have a lot of room to play around with your wicking, and you're not going to pay terribly for it in the vape. So I'm getting a really wonderful vape on this RTA with the way that I build it in the up and close. So if you would like, go ahead and try that build, and I'm getting really good flavor from it. So great airflow. I will say that I put a couple builds in here where I got a slight whistle, but just by adjusting my coils, I was able to get rid of that whistle. So I'll let you listen to how it sounds right now. So that was with it wide open, and I gotta say this RTA has a lot of airflow. For a top airflow RTA, I find it's one of the most airiest top airflow RTAs I've ever tried. So my preferred way to vape it is at it halfway open. So right at that 50% of the airflow cutoff is where I find that I get a really nice, good saturated flavor and a nice smooth airflow. So here it is, cut halfway off. A nice restrictive direct lung pull, lots of flavor, lots of saturation, and very smooth airflow. Heathen did a wonderful job designing this Dead Rabbit RTA, and I can definitely see this being in the top RTAs of the 2018. And additionally, since I'm not doing giveaways per se on YouTube anymore, just because the YouTube rules and regulations around tobacco products is really kind of in a gray area for us right now, and I don't want to risk having my channel shut down or getting a strike on my channel. I haven't really been doing giveaways directly on my YouTube channel, but I do have my own external website, and what I've decided to do is how I'm going to do my giveaways for all of you viewers out there is I'm actually going to post this video up on my website. My website is down in the description. You can find it at kimmyvapes.net. That's www.kimmyvapes.net. What I will do is I will post this video on that website in a blog post, and down there you will have the ability to comment below the video. In your comment, make sure to include your YouTube name. And the reason why I say that is because you must be subscribed to my YouTube channel in order to participate in this giveaway. If I go and I check your YouTube name and you're not in my subscriber list, I will not draw your name as a winner. And I do that because I feel it's really important that I want to give back to the people that support me. So make sure you're a subscriber of my YouTube channel. After you watch this video, give it a thumbs up here. I really need the thumbs up. It really helps us a lot. It allows my videos to become more visible in the YouTube algorithm. And then you can go over to my website, kimmyvapes.net, and leave a comment below this video, the video on that website post, and you will be automatically entered into a drawing to win a stainless steel Dead Rabbit RTA. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're not already, click that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so you get notified the next time I upload a video. Thank you very much for watching, you guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.